So today's video, we're going to be talking about monochromatic painting and why it's so important. When we boil things down to just painting in one color, as in the manner of Picasso and so many other masters, value becomes the most important element. So I'm going to explain why, and then we're going to hop right into a demo and get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about is hue. Hue is just the base color that we're working with. So hue can be any color. So hue is red. Hue is the pure color. So it could be red, it could be blue, it can be green, it can be any pure color. Okay, so when we're talking about regular painting, when we're painting, we usually mix our colors together to create variety and a range of color variation, and then we mix in white and black, and we create tints and shades and all kinds of different varieties. When we're talking about doing the monochromatic paintings, we're using only one color and we're creating variation with just white and black, and we're creating tints and shades. So tints are any one color plus white, and shades are any one color plus black. This is just a grayscale value finder, and it shows you, you can get these online, they're very inexpensive, and it just shows you the 10 values from white to darkest black. Okay, and one of my tricks that I have is just using the editor on my cell phone to check my own paintings to make sure that my values are working. I just, right before I finish, or I think I'm almost done, is I take a picture of it, and it's actually also really good to find any kind of mistakes seem to pop out better. But then I put it into the black and white editor. You can make it cool or warm or different. There's different filters, and then at the very bottom there's a bunch of black and white ones. So I usually put it into one of the black and white filters, and then I look at it to make sure my values are working. And if you have pinks and blues and things that are all the same values, part of your painting will actually disappear. So unless you have a strong value plan in your painting, you might lose part of your image when you put it into the black and white filter. So you can actually improve your values on your painting and then just keep checking it against the black and white filter until you improve the values in your painting. It'll make your painting more dynamic. So now I want to talk about tints with you. So when we're working with acrylic colors, we're of course going to make tints we're going to use a little bit of white paint and mix those in. Okay, so we're going to mix the white paint into the color, into the plain hue. So I'm going to start with the base color, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of the white. And I use titanium white, and then we just keep adding white as we go down, making it lighter and lighter as we go along, until you end up, I gotta get more on here. Until you come down to a pure white. Okay, and obviously I'm not doing a fabulous job of this, but And then when we're working in watercolor, you have a choice about whether or not you want to add white gouache or not. I mean, in watercolor, you can just take like a really dark pure hue, and then keep adding water, okay? And then as you go down, more water, more water, more water, and until you come down to the, or you can add white gouache. Now, either is fine with watercolor. You can do either way. You're going to get more, if you're a purist, you're not going to want to use the white gouache, but the white gouache is kind of fun to use. If you are, I use both because I do a lot of gouache, and I'm not such a purist when it comes to my watercolor. So I will use the white gouache, and I'll go down to the white that way. I'm using pans today, so. So you could do this either way and get all your values in. So that's a tint. The shades are when we use any color with black. So now we're going to do some shades. Now shades are any color with black. So it's essentially the same thing, but instead of going lighter, we're going to go darker until we're at the darkest dark. All right, so now we're starting with the pure hue again, but now we're going to go in with the black. I'm trying to get. So you're trying to. Sometimes I try to pull it up this way because it's. There you go. So you want a variation from light to dark of shades, which are your main hue mixed with black. So same thing with the acrylic paint, and you would mix your regular hues with, I'm going to put a little bit of this and a little bit of that out. We'll just try some of this black. All right, so here's one I did more in the manner of Picasso because I used 3 colors. I used Payne's Gray, Cerulean Blue, and Brilliant Blue with white and black, titanium white and black. And so I threw this, I put this in here, I did this spread. This is acrylic paint. And so in truth, it is an analogous painting because I used 3 different hues of blue, black and white. And so when I put these compositions together, I do a couple things. Normally what I do is, and this is just kind of part of my process, I do things like I have these old-fashioned magazines, and sometimes I'll flip through and I'll find a person and I'll tear it out, and there might be something that looks intriguing. This is an old Vogue. I don't know how old it is, but I do like their pictures a lot of times, so this could be a painting. Just like, I love interesting stuff like this. Anything with like flowers and a pretty woman is interesting to me. And then I might change out the foliage or the flowers for something I actually have that's real. But they always have really artfully taken photographs and stuff. So they have really beautiful setups a lot of times that I really like. So anyway, I'll find a person or something in a magazine or something, and then I also love, so I have fabric swatches. Like, you could tell the influence of like a piece of fabric like this on the background. Okay, I did not use this particular one, but I love vintage fabrics, and so I have quite a bit of fabric, and so I may not copy it exactly, but I'll get a flavor of like a vintagey fabric. And if I don't have an exact thing I'm looking for, I will go out onto Pinterest maybe and get vintage fabric, or I do have tons of little swatches or scraps of vintage fabric in my studio. Then I will make a sketch. And this is not followed exactly into my book. I have lots of vintage bird books, so I'll get an inspiration, but then of course it changes again when I put it in the book and start painting. So everything kind of evolves as I put it into the book, and then that's kind of my process for making these things. There's the drawing, and then so that's this one. Now, what I've done for the next one we're going to do is I have taken, and I think what the demo is going to be in watercolor, I've taken one of my earlier watercolors in color, which I will show you. I put it into the photo app and turned it into a black and white, and I'm going to paint from the black and white version in one color, one hue of blue, black and white. And that will be my demo. I'm going to use I think like a cerulean blue, black, and titanium white. And I will show you that. Now, the photo app will save you. So even if you're painting from a color photograph, you can put it in black and white, or I always suggest painting from your own paintings, because that's another way of developing your own style. So even if that painting or the image changes a little bit, you're improving or building your own style by painting from your own work. It just continues to evolve that way. So here's a little gouache painting that I made a while back that I really like. And then what I did with the photo editor, I just put it into black and white, and then this is what I'm going to paint from for my monochromatic painting. So I'm just showing you some of the work of Raoul Duffy, and going to share a quote with you of his, if you're wondering why we're using the color blue. And Duffy explained it really well when he said, "Blue is the only color which maintains its own character in all its tones. It will always stay blue, whereas yellow is blackened in its shades and fades away when lightened. Red, when darkened, becomes brown, and diluted with white, it is no longer red, but another color, pink." So this is why you can find these blue studies in a lot of the master paintings. And I just think that his are just really charming, and I wanted you to see a couple. And then we're just going to hop straight into the demo. And I'm using gouache today, and I'm going to be using cerulean blue, titanium white, and black in my gouache demo, and I'm going to be starting it with a blue Stabilo pencil, which is a water-soluble pencil. So in this little study, what I've done here is I've got my iPad set up. I'm working from the black and white version of the painting, and I am drawing with a blue water-soluble Stabilo pencil. I also have a graphite version that is also water-soluble. These are really great to use under your watercolor paintings and gouache paintings. And in this little video you'll see at the end, I go back in with that blue Stabilo pencil and I do add some details, so they're really nice to have. Now, if you're a person that does not like to see the graphite, you may want to choose a red color pencil. It will completely disappear. I also do recommend working from your own paintings as a way to build your own personal style, in addition to, working from still life and working from direct observation, from photographs, from master, doing some master copies and things like that. That all really help when you're developing your art practice.